Hey everybody, welcome to The Whole Package by Premier Packaging. I am Billy Watkins, and today our guest is Max Godby, Division Pricing Manager.
Sounds fancy, doesn't it?
Is that what it is?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yes, it is.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from?
So originally from Louisville, Kentucky. Moved here when I was 2 years old, and then wound up going to college at University of Kentucky. And then after I got done there, got into the corporate world and really stayed around Lexington, Central Kentucky for about 12, 13 years. And then finally made the move back here after working at Premier for a year and a half at that time.
Okay.
And now kind of back to the hometown promised land, the guy that never left hometown.
You're here and you're making it happen. But let's back up a little bit because we're missing a big chunk here. From 2010 to 2014 at the University of Kentucky, you were an offensive lineman.
That's very true.
Let's
Yes.
talk about that.
Played there from 2010, 2014, and walked on there at the beginning. Came from Christian Academy, Louisville. Usually about 2.1% of high schoolers make it to Division I, and I was like that 0.1 that was able to finally just edge in. I was a 0-star center.
Wow.
And
That's amazing that the percentage is that, yeah.
it's very low, and so it's one of those opportunities that you get that you've got to take advantage of. And
Heck
so
yeah.
I had a great time there. Definitely was not the best player. Definitely wasn't even the best player on the team, let alone the SEC or guys that I went up against. But it was a great experience. Wound up earning a scholarship my fourth year, and then you're mostly all offensive linemen and red shirts. So wound up playing a fifth year, and then played kind of utilized myself as a utility lineman. So I was not great at one position. I was just good at all five. And so got to bounce around the offensive line a lot and really learn the game. And I was also the fastest fat guy. So they put me on special teams as well to try to run down these SEC punt returners, which was sometimes didn't end up well.
And I don't normally do this, but reading the questions for today, I looked you up, and yeah, you're a very large individual. It's 6'2", and what was the when you were in college?
Don't cheat me 2 inches.
Okay.
I was 6'3" and 3/4, and I
6'3"
round
and
up to 6'4". The amount of money that I had to hand to the sports information team man,
To get that
please make
extra
me
quarter
6'4".
inch.
I came in at 250 pounds, which as an offensive lineman is extremely small.
Yeah.
You'll just get bullied at that weight. Finally put on to 305 pounds, and then after my last game, I realized, wait a second, I'm not some like athlete anymore. Now I'm just some random fat guy. So I was like, well, now I need to figure out, how to jog and do like cardio.
Oh, random.
And so finally was able to get down to just be a big guy.
What did you do to get to the 305? What was that like? Was it you were packing on?
It was a lot of eating. So for me, it was really hard to just naturally put weight on. So it was, you would have a nutritionist and they would just follow what you were eating. So my calorie intake was like, as a high schooler, like somewhere between 5,000 calories.
Good Lord.
Then to be able to just get the 285, I was probably eating about 7,500. And then I just plateaued, like my body was just begging, like, stop, I can't put on anymore. And so for a while that was fine. They said, you know what, he's holding his own well at that weight. And then once we went into fall camp, which is, your 2-a-days, it's extremely hot outside, right. You're practicing nonstop. The decision was just made, okay, Max needs to be 300 like now. So it was just ramped up where you're just doing 2-a-days. Oh, by the way, you're going to have an extra helping of hot wings and ice cream, because at this point it was just, you would think it's like the monkey's paw thing of like, man, I wish I can eat whatever I want, but then you've got to be really specific about your wish. Yeah. And so it did turn into a little bit of a nightmare, because that's not fun, eating that much and then running gassers right afterwards.
Right.
It's kind of it doesn't end up well, like at all.
Good Lord. I'm inadvertently getting up to 305 somehow, and I'm not even trying, but it's I can't imagine 5,000 a day. After college, you worked as you had some interesting jobs. You worked as a manager at a pest control company, a snack food company, right? What was that like? What were you doing at the pest control? Did you?
So I was working as a branch manager there, and then with snack company, it was district sales. So both of them was a sales role. The pest control was more of a sales and operations role, and kind of just managing the P&L of different branches within Kentucky and Ohio. And
so and with the pest control, you never gassed any. You weren't killing bugs or.
No, but I got to be a part of that at times, and it was interesting. It was more of my P&L side that was why I was brought on, but it was just extremely fascinating to learn that part of the business as well.
You also another amazingly neat thing. You did color commentary in Lexington for a couple of years for UOK's team, right?
So did it for a bunch of high school teams locally through a group called Glycod, and then would also help out for the KHSAA state championships whenever they needed me. I was kind of the alternate, so if someone called in sick, they were like, well, Max is available.
They got Max.
It's steady Eddie. It's like he's not the best. Well, at least he'll show up. And so I did that, and then was and is still involved with radio as well in Lexington. Predominantly all remote now, ever since COVID happened. But
which brings up a point. So I mean, you're eminently experienced at this. What we're doing, you're very calm, cool, and collected right now. Why aren't you doing this? What am I doing here?
Packaging pays a whole lot better. That's the number one thing. And this is fun. And I was always considered a fun interview when I was a player.
Right.
And for me, it's just being, especially with football, being involved with UK athletics, being able to still be a part of that, but be a little bit removed.
Taken back.
Exactly. Because usually if we would lose a game on Saturday, that ruined the rest of my Saturday because I thought about how bad I played. Then it ruined my Sunday because I really couldn't think about it because usually I got to grieve that game.
There goes the weekend.
On Monday, the whole time I knew on Monday that I was going to get yelled at by the coaches for like, what were you doing on this play? Like, what were you thinking pulling and hitting that corner instead of hitting that strong safety? It's like, I don't know because I'm dumb. I'm not 100% sure. And then all that to go, all right, we got to erase that and go to the next game. The first time doing this, UK lost a game, I was like, wait a second. There's not that overwhelming guilt and shame and just dread going into Monday.
I had nothing to do
exactly.
with that.
I'm perfectly good now.
Right.
It's so that aspect of it has been good to where I'm not so emotionally invested in it, but still fun to be able to talk about the game, try to keep my football IQ somewhat sharp when discussing it with fans and callers.
How do you do that? How do you make kind of spur of the moment commentary sound professional and insightful?
You're using the term professional very, very loosely. It's fun because I think we've got a great group of callers that do call into our show.
Right.
And they ask very unique, interesting questions. And I feel bad for the host of the show, Larry Glover, who's a well-respected radio personality in Lexington. He's been doing it for a long time. And then it's like, man, he got stuck with Max to be able to do this show. And so usually he's got to deal with either my hot take or emotional reaction after a game. And he's got to be the one that brings it back calm and center afterwards and be like,
little good cop, bad cop.
A little bit, yes. One's doom and gloom, or it's like, okay, we're definitely going to the playoff now.
Do you have like an all-time favorite commentator you look to for inspiration or anything like that?
Growing up watching SEC football, watching SEC Game of the Week on CBS was Vern Lundquist. The dude was an absolute professional. But then even now watching how Chris Fowler, who does all the primetime games for ESPN, ABC, and the way that he's able to paint a story, and just him and Kirk Herbstreit and how they're able to just bounce off each other so well. They really paint a great story. You need the play-by-play to be able to draw, and then you need your color commentator to really paint that story and make it lively.
Tie it in, yeah. So we've covered your college career and some of the jobs you did afterwards. That has brought you to here. Like you said, packaging pays pretty good. So here we are. Describe your job. What do you do here?
So the best way of describing it would be strategy. when we're dealing with sourcing and pricing, when you're presenting something to a customer, there's got to be rhyme or reason of why we're doing it. Premier's simple motto is ask why.
Right.
And that's something on the sourcing side and pricing we've got to live by, because any mom and pop's going to be able to, when a contract bid comes out and they want this stretch film and it's got to be an 80 gauge stretch film. Okay, everyone's going to try to give you the lowest dollar price humanly possible. Premier can do that as well. But what's the best strategy on that? Is it to just go ahead and give you an apples to apples comparison, or is it, hey, is this the right fit? And so we've been able to work with our sales reps to be able to give us not just the specs and dimensions of certain items. It's like, what are they using it for?
Right.
What's the order quantity on it? Where is this going to be located? Where are they even shipping from?
Right.
And when we're able to ask those questions, it's be like, okay, we can give you an apples to apples comparison, but here's what we think is going to be a better fit. And that gives us arsenal as well when we're talking on the back end with vendors and talking to them and really using and leveraging those relationships that we've developed with them to where we can get a very good strategic cost, strategic freight to go with it.
Right.
That way, and then also, and I think the biggest thing is to give the sales rep a story. There's one thing about presenting pricing, but something when you're able to provide a story when it comes to sustainability or a innovation with a product, and you're able to give the likes of our supply chain specialists an ability to tell that story, that's a huge X factor in this industry.
And I assume there's some customers that don't care. They're just gonna, hey, I want the lowest price, and that's it. But then being able to tell that story, I'm sure there's tons of them out there that really bite on that.
They really do, and you'd be shocked of how many from larger companies will. And it all goes back to the effort that our supply chain specialists make when it comes to building those relationships.
Right.
As hard as me and my team work on the vendor side of building those relationships, they have to do the exact same, to where they can put us in a situation where it gives us a gray area to be able to present an alternative.
What are the advantages that Premier brings to the table in this arena? I mean,
I would say one, what we just talked about, of being able to provide alternatives and provide the best fit. I also would argue, and I'm a little biased, but when it comes to our sourcing department, whether it's the corrugated end, the industrial end, and kind of the vision that Jeff Steele has instilled into sourcing, of being able to really take a conscious effort when we look at things. You see a lot of procurement people that do procurement or sourcing. It's almost like hot potato. As soon as they get the request, it's try to get rid of it as
off my desk
as soon as possible. For us, it's taking those additional questions of, we're not just going to go to one vendor on this. Let's go to multiple partners and see who's the best fit on this. And if one vendor winds up winning it, we let the other vendors know, but find a good alternative. That way, supply chain is still not 100% yet. There's, crazy things that happen in this world that can mess up our supply chain. So do we have a backup plan in those?
Right.
It's taken a very conscious effort when we source. We source with a purpose. We want to be speed to market, but we also want to have a great strategy moving in to where when we win that business, we've got a good strategy to be able to retain that business as well.
What was the learning curve for you coming into this, not necessarily with a packaging background, in terms of learning about stretch wrap? And I mean, you got requests of stuff where I would assume you were like, what the heck is this?
I got a request yesterday. I didn't know what the heck it was. That's the great thing about the industrial end and about the packaging world. You see stuff that's brand new every single day.
Right.
When I first started at Premier, it was like drinking out of a fire hydrant. That's how much water pressure there was. And I was like, am I really cut out for this? But
right.
What I learned is, if you've got the mentality of you're going to figure it out, and then Premier is such a special place. Usually other places that I've worked, you don't understand something, you better figure it out on your own, because
right.
you're not going to have much of a support to be
Good
able to
luck.
help you out.
Yeah.
Premier is the only time, and Jeff Steele, it's a testament to his leadership style of I've never seen someone be that attentive with his new hires, that attentive to where now when you've got a guy, there's a gentleman on his national team that's only been here for 6 months and he's already sourcing like a pro.
Yeah.
And he's just a stud at it. And so I think that's the biggest element is Premier takes such care of the new hires to where once we're getting to, oh wait, everything's starting to click now, then you've got that confidence to be able to keep quoting and keep venturing out with vendors.
Very nice. Your LinkedIn page references how you like, your goal is to have your team fully bought in, right? So everyone can be successful. What is how do you get your folks to, how do you get buy-in?
Well, you can get into a monotony of a work schedule and it can drag on you. It's like, man, I just need to get through this week. And I had such great examples of how to do that and even better examples of how not to do that. But if you're willing to come in and you come in high energy, you're the one that's, you know what, if you're not even feeling that great and you're very uncertain, you fake it till you make it, and you give your team that positive environment of, hey, I'm going to coach you up, I'm going to teach, I'm going to let you make decisions. I trust you with your vendors to be able to come up with the best solution humanly possible, and then champion them. That gives an environment to where they're not afraid of making mistakes. They're not looking over their shoulder constantly, and they have a true care, and they give a crap basically about what they're doing. And that was something that Jeff Steele does for all of sourcing. It's what I implemented with my team. And that's why on the sourcing, and it kind of represents the best of Premier that way.
It's not the best bumper sticker, but it does ring true that, Premier is a bunch of people that give a crap.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It's kind of the way it is. And you think that sets us apart from other companies, right?
Absolutely. And I don't find, and you get to know there's other packaging companies in the United States, in Kentucky, vendors that deal in the same way that we do, that, they're good, they're great, they're good people, but Premier culturally just stands out. And that's from someone that's worked in a Fortune 40 company, a Fortune 100 company, and then coming to Premier. Yeah. It's I don't like the term like we're a family, but I think it's just a great, strong culture of professionals that are working together.
Agreed. What's the secret to doing your job well? If there is one, I'm sure there's.
Give a crap.
Yeah,
That's the biggest one, is being able to go in each and every day and knowing that not only do I have a supply chain specialist that's relying on me to be able to get him or her the best opportunity possible for them to be able to present, be able to get a good relationship with our vendors, not just for me, but other division sourcing specialists and pricing managers throughout the country. That way we're able to use the same vendors and all be on the same page. Yeah. And then our CSR team, when we do have an issue with a price increase when it comes to a vendor, being able to all rally behind and be like, hey, let's not increase the price on our customer on this. Let's go hunt for a better cost, or beat down a vendor for a better cost also. So I feel like when you've got that, it benefits not just our department, but every department.
Parallels, we'll take it back. Parallels between what you do and sports.
Well, one that's definitely not a parallel. I'm nowhere as sore doing this job as I was playing.
Less bruising in the
less bruising. No one's trying to hurt me. They may try to emotionally hurt me at times.
You're not being force-fed.
Exactly.
I guess a vendor could occasionally buy you a lunch. But,
exactly. But you know what? I control what's on the menu. If that's
you can have a salad.
Exactly. But I would say the team camaraderie that we have here at Premier, and especially within our sourcing department, it's very tight-knit. And the ability I've never been a part of a place where we'll go out and play pickleball, or go out and play a flag football game, and go out and do stuff outside of work. And when you've got that trust, not just within your department, but other departments that are participating with you, then it gives you a better working relationship, to where it's like, hey, I know Chad really well. He's in finance. Maybe I can go with him and ask him on this, which if we had never played a game of basketball together, would have never known to approach him on that.
Off the top of my head, I am curious. How long have you been doing the mustache and stubble?
Mustache started a little over a year ago. I was in a baseball league, and so I grew it for it, and I was going to shave it, and I was like, you know what? I don't look bad. Someone said I look like a Great Value brand Tom Selleck, and I was like, you know what?
Great Value brand Tom Selleck.
I'll take that.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of just turned into like my wife's just like, it's fine. It's fine. It's like not a bad thing or a good thing. It's kind of just there.
It's there.
But everyone from church and the office is like, man, I wish I can do that. And I feel like now I have to kind of give mustache a better representation.
It's out there. You see, I mean, they're everywhere now. You know, they've become ubiquitous. I look at mine every morning and I'm like, oh, you're going to get rid of that. And then I'm like, I think I looked
Hold
worse.
strong. It gets better.
Could you give me a little color commentary on my performance today?
You know what I love? You look at a guy like Billy Watkins. He's just able to just lean into it. There's not a reservation, no fear whatsoever while he's doing a podcast.
Sweating bullets, man.
But it's like I already know the answers of what you're about ready to say, but I'm going to be very intrigued on them and really sell the nonverbal cues. Just not another pro like Billy Watkins.
I have the ability to look interested. That's half the battle in this thing. Max, it could not have been more of a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you for coming in today.
Thank you very much.
And until next time, I'm Billy Watkins, and this has been The Whole Package by Premier Packaging.
Do you have comments, questions, or ideas about this topic? If so, we'd like to hear from you. Please visit primpack.com/podcast to let us know what you think. Thanks.